Election Yard here, and today we wanted to take a few minutes and explain to you a concept in election watching that maybe you've heard about, but you don't know what it is. Swing. No, not the music that tried making a comeback in the 2000s. A measurement of the change in a party's vote from one election to another. In its most basic definition, swing is the change in vote share from one party in an election to another when compared to the prior election's results. Sometimes, in local races where there might not have been a prior contested race, the comparison is made to the presidential race there if we're talking about the United States. Some American election analysts and websites calculate swing differently than elsewhere, like for example in Britain or Australia. In the first example, the swing in an American election and how some analysts in the US might calculate it. Let's say that an election is held and the Republican candidate wins it by a margin of 55 to 45%, which is a 10-point win. In the previous election, the Republican candidate won 70 to 30%, or a 40-point win. That's a pretty sizable shift, and how it might be shown in the US is that it went from a 40-point margin to 10, so it's a 30-point swing. You're just telling me the change in the margin. To some, this is the most logical, though I also grew up following other electoral systems, so it's not the format that I would gravitate towards first. Now let's look at how it's done in the United Kingdom. If you're old and hardcore enough, you remember Peter Snow on election night playing with the swingometer. Those were the days. Anyway, in this example, Labour has won with 40%, the Conservatives with 30%, the Lib Dems have 20%, and Reform UK has 10%. However, in the prior election, the Conservatives had 40%, Labour had 25%, Reform had 20%, and the Lib Dems had 15%. Under the British system, swing is calculated by subtracting the change in vote share between two parties and then averaging the result. For example, Labour gained 15 points in this example, while the Conservatives lost 10. The Lib Dems gained 5 and Reform lost 10, but we're going to calculate the swing between the two main parties, Labour and Tory. 15 minus negative 10 is 25 because subtracting a negative integer makes it a positive. Half of 25 is 12.5, meaning the swing from Conservative to Labour in this election was 12.5%. You can calculate swing between any two parties, in fact. Let's take Labour versus Lib Dem. We've already established that Labour gained 15 and the Lib Dems in this example gained 5. So back to the simple equation, 15 minus 5 equals 10, and then half of that is 5. The swing from Lib Dem to Labour was just 5%, much smaller than the 12.5 from Tory to Labour. It's a little different even from that in Australia, mostly because of the electoral system they use. Australia uses instant runoff voting, the alternative vote, or ranked choice voting. Once the rankings are done and ballot preferences are distributed, you end up with a top two candidates splitting 100% of the votes. For example, let's say that in the current election, Labour has gotten 53% of the two-party preferred vote, and the Liberals have gotten 47%. In the prior election, Labour got 51% and the Liberals received 49%. Well, Labour gained 2 points and the Liberals lost 2 points, so there you go, the swing was 2 points. Now, when it comes to swing, Election Yard prefers the British system. Been using it for a long time, and I think sometimes the American system over-exaggerates it a little. Like in the first example, calling it a 30-point swing because the margin changed by 30 points, that makes it sound worse than it actually was. Which do you prefer? I'll let you figure that out, but in the meantime, you can visit electionyard.com and follow us on social media.